We're going into round four, and we have Tom Jacobson, who we saw on stream earlier, bringing you another sneak and show match. Seems to be
So many sneaking shows.
we're actually the three of our four rounds still left playing the sneak and shows in them, so can't do much about that.
Sneak show doing well on Thursdays.
Yeah, so we're showing sneak and show versus Jund. So we saw Jund earlier in the night be taken down by Miracles.
Yep, close 3-game match there.
Yeah, so who do you think's favored in this matchup?
I would have to go with the sneak and show deck. The Jund deck is so good, but it doesn't really have a great answer to just an Emrakul besides the Liliana the Veil.
Yeah, it's disruptive pieces in discard are a little easier for Tom to navigate around when he's not having to fight force of will. One thing is Jund can have a curve of Thought Seize and a Hymn to Tarok into Liliana the Veil. I can stop a combo deck in his track, but Sneak Attack is always a few draw steps away from just completing the combo anyways.
Right, so there's very few points in the game where the Jund deck has it locked down.
Yes, absolutely. And Jund, with the ability to close out a game with cards like Tarmogoyf and what is the 3/2?
Bloodbraid Elf.
Bloodbraid Elf. These cards can close out the game in pretty quick order for Cougar. So he's hard pressed to find a little early interaction and then to just close out the game and to cut off Tom's draw steps.
Yep, just wants really aggressive creatures and Hymn to Thorax. And hopefully Liliana the Veil. Probably his best card in the matchup just because it can go after the hand and also handle big guys on the board.
Absolutely. So here we go into the game. We're well underway.
Oh, well, I think we saw...
That was the game.
Sorry, guys. Game 1 down. I believe we saw a turn 2 Emrakul from Tom.
Yep, and Cougar picking with no response. Nothing but a Dark Confidant in play, just picking up his card.
Okay, well, game 1 has gone how I expected it to go.
Yes.
Which is the weakness of the Jund deck. Just can't answer an Emrakul, and that's what Tom did.
Yep, absolutely.
Sideboard for Jund. I believe he's going to take out cards that are kind of a little bit quirky in this matchup. Cards like Abrupt Decay, first of all.
Yep.
It doesn't really hit too much. He may leave him in if he wants to play this weird Blood Moon game.
Sure.
But it's kind of hard to play for the Jund deck. I kind of like taking out the Abrupt Decays. You can definitely take out cards like Lightning Bolt and Punishing Fire.
I think a card like Bloodbraid Elf, even though we need to close out the game, doesn't interact fast enough, I don't think.
It's a little slow, yeah. It kind of depends what he's got in his board to put in. He'll definitely board Red Elemental Blast, for sure. If he has any more Edict effects that are kind of designed maybe a little bit to combat True Name Nemesis, he can bring those in. Let me see what other cards the Jund deck's. It's going to bring in cards. I believe we've seen him bring in Duress before. He'll almost undoubtedly bring in just a couple more discard spells. Yeah, the sneak and show deck's really hard to answer. The Jund deck doesn't have the tools to just be able to deal with a sneak attack.
Yep, absolutely.
And so really it's gotta lay a board presence quickly and then just disrupt. And hope that the Tom never gets to that kind of combo, especially the sneak attack, because the Jund deck can't Liliana Edict that.
Yep, absolutely.
Occasionally it'll be able to deal with just raw dogged Emrakul like that with Liliana.
Yep.
Maelstrom Pulse, not a bad card, can take care of sneak attacks and blood moons and stuff like that.
It's the utility on that card is worth with the 3 mana.
Yeah, it's not again not the best, but it's a card that actually can get him out of situations where other cards in his deck can't. But yeah, that being said, the Jund deck, it has so many tools, but it's just not designed to handle 15/15 Annihilator 6s.
You are well equipped.
And I think that's one of the main reasons why we haven't seen quite as much Jund in Legacy recently. Or maybe even the fair decks in general that don't run counterspells are just because Sneak and Show, it's tough to just have a matchup like this where your percent is actually just pretty low.
Yep, absolutely. Cougar resigned to a mulligan. He's really looking for these early interaction, the rest, Thoughtseize, Minotaur.
Yeah, there very well might be some 7-card hands, even post-board, that he will mulligan, even if they look okay. Just a hand like, creatures that don't interact well, like just Dark Confidants, and, maybe some of his more expensive pieces here.
Yep, absolutely. And so Tom happy with his hand.
And Tom, quick keep from Tom, so you know.
You could assume that we'll see a fast monster or a hand with a few cantrips and some resiliency.
Yeah, and Cougar's definitely, even on the mold of 6 here, he still wants cards like Thoughtseize and Duress. This matchup's generally not decided on card advantage, it's more decided on whether or not the Sneak and Show deck is going to kill you.
Certainly. Cougar looking at his slates, kind of going over it. Doesn't seem happy about it.
And he's going to have to go to 5 there. That's pretty rough for Cougar there.
Yeah, and a lighthearted game. I don't think Tom's over there pumping his fist.
No, Tom's a nice guy.
Yeah. Hoping to play a game of Magic, but
it looks like that might not happen. You see, I think Cougar might have cast 1 spell in that first game.
Yep.
And he might cast about the same in the second game here. We'll see how his 5-card hand looks.
Hopefully he does find some of that early interaction like we spoke about, the discard spells. Him to Torok specifically is a really powerful effect.
Yeah, the Mold of 5 is so brutal for him, though, because now he's not going to be able, almost undoubtedly not be able to disrupt and put a clock on the board. Because you need, probably like 2 lands, Tarmogoyf, Thoughtseize, and something else is what he's looking for here.
Here we just see a Bayou and a pass.
Yep, so, any discard spell, he would have run it out there immediately.
Tom's fetching, I imagine, for an island.
Yep, gonna play around Wasteland. Typically, these Jund decks do run Wasteland. Different amounts, but it seems like a lot of nowadays tend to run the full 4.
Yep.
Just shows you the power of that card. You can't really cast very many cards in the Jund deck. Can't cast Lightning Bolt, can't cast Abrupt Decay, can't cast Deathrite Shaman, can't cast Into Torok, but it's a free land destruction spell, and that's just good enough.
That effect is super powerful. Jund's mana base is pretty taxed. With the exception of Miracles, I think it's one of the decks that plays the most lands that other than your mud decks or your other ramp decks. But
for sure.
Of the traditional tier 1, tier 2 decks, I think this is one of the few decks that have 23, 24 lands.
And also of note, often almost no or very little non-basics, which means that Tom most likely did Board and Blood Moon against these Jund decks, just because a lot of times you can play it and then they can't cast spells.
Absolutely.
I believe we saw Badlands from Cougar and then just a pass, and that's really unfortunate because that means he doesn't have Thoughtseize, he doesn't have Hymn to Torok, he doesn't have Dark Confidant, he doesn't have Tarmogoyf. However, he might have some of his better cards like Lily on the Veil would be pretty likely heal. He probably has a card like Maelstrom Pulse, Red Elemental Blast would make sense here. So Tom's going to think about all those things.
Lily on the Veil, although a very powerful effect, without a supporting cast, hard pressed. Tom has probably a lot of redundant cards in his hand.
Yeah, and Tom may have picked up on the fact that he might have Red Elemental Blast. He's going to try to get a sneak attack in here instead of trying to go for a Shonto.
Oh, here we have a Jace.
Going for Jace the Mind Sculptor. Interesting.
That might have been one of the first things I poured out in this match.
I was going to say, I probably would.
I think the combo is good enough, and this card matches up really poorly up against like Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, Red Elemental Blast would have been pretty devastating to Tom there. However, resolved. Looks like Cougar might just have not much of anything.
Yeah, and when you mold a 5, that's bound to happen. Tom with a resolved Jason. Potentially, I think he's making the read that Cougar might not have bolts in his deck after board.
Yeah, most likely that Jace might be a bit hard for Cougar to deal with here.
Yeah, and we see this too often. The best Planeswalker ever printed taking away a game.
Yep, I do expect Lily on the Veil here, and there it is.
And here, arguably the second best printed.
Yep.
Defining more constructed formats than any other, with the exception of Jace.
Absolutely, and however, Tom is going to say no to that. With that Jace against the Mold of 5, it's going to be extremely hard for Cougar to get back into this game.
Yeah, and given the board state and the texture of Tom's hand, he can play a controlling strategy and just resign to just brainstorm and
absolutely
shape the top of his deck, or shape his hand, and set up a combo.
Yep, just draw an extra card every turn.
It's amazing to me. You see Jace on the Miracles deck; it's such a powerful effect. Jace in a combo strategy is so absurd.
Yeah, there's no real reason where it should be in that deck, other than it's ridiculous.
It's just the card's really good, and it shores up some of your matchups game 1 that you have a tough time beating, like the Miracles decks. I've been a really big fan.
For me, it kind of reminds me of the Tarmogoyfs, the Rug Twin deck.
Yes.
It's like kind of a blue-red combo control deck that you just decide to put 4 Tarmogoyfs in it. And we see Tom putting in a sneak attacking, putting in an Emrakul, and
I think that's good enough.
I think that's a scoop. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, unfortunately, Cougar not really able to play Magic in this round. I think he cast 2 spells that match.
I can't give Tom the boo. He's the boy. He's the homie. But yeah, a lot of sneaking showing. While being a boring strategy is really powerful and it wins matches.
Yeah. Not a deck that I'm a super fan of, but there is a lot of play in it, and sometimes you get 3 matches, and that was one of them from Tom for sure.
Yeah, so kind of breaking the mold of conventionally we have a very diverse metagame. There's only a few there's very little combo in the room. Generally, there's a lot of fair decks. We're used to seeing a lot of death and taxes, which we had yet to see today.
Yep, some Esper Stoneblade, a lot of Stoneblade decks.
Yep.
Oftentimes someone will play something like Bant, some kind of Bant deck, usually Jund decks, sometimes some Elves, Mud, Maverick. Had a couple Burn players floating around. Manless Dredge, I think we've seen.
Yeah, there's a few of those strategies. Anyways, it's going to wrap it up for our Thursday Night Legacy. I'm going to take a moment to tell you about some of the other options, some of our other features. Wednesday night, we do a Modern tournament, and we started streaming yesterday, and it's been a really, really fun. I like the format. I think
Modern is great.
It's this really cool blend of these powerful synergistic strategies, but then maintaining it in still a fair
it's like Legacy where that generally doesn't happen.
Yes, it's Legacy without the cards that make Legacy too good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Wednesday night we do Modern, streaming at 6 o'clock. Thursday, obviously, we do the Legacy, and then Friday night we potentially will be streaming FNM starting at 6 o'clock. We first Sunday of every month we have a $10 buy-in, kind of bigger Legacy tournament. So people, if you're in the area close enough, we're located in Bellingham, just right on the main road there in Railroad downtown. There's a PTQ on Saturday. It's a Modern PTQ down in Seattle at the Convention Center. I'm excited to grind. That. You all should be excited to grind. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and tune in next week for more Legacy action from Dark Tower Games.
Yeah, thanks guys. We appreciate it.
Yep, have a good night.